Okay, so here we are. As you can see, I have a terminal open. It has Dave at YSAP, and it has this little $ there, and it is waiting for input. I can type here, I can backspace it, I can type a command. I'm not going to get into what that is yet, but I could type something here, hit enter, and then it would actually run it. So this is the terminal. Before I can even talk about scripting, we got to get some of this stuff out of the way. So the terminal works as a REPL. REPL is what I'm saying. It stands for read, eval, print, loop. That is what the bash shell does inside your terminal. So just to be a little overly pedantic here, the terminal is the program. In this case, I am running a program, an application on my Mac called iTerm2, and that terminal is running an instance of bash. Bash is a program, and it's the shell. The shell is the thing that waits for my commands, and it's running right now as a REPL. Other programs can be REPLs. It's just a simple term for read, eval, print, loop. That is what bash is doing right now. It's waiting for me to give it input, so it's reading input. Once I give it input, let's say echo hi, we're going to run our first command, and it's going to print hi to the screen. That's awesome. It evaluated what I gave it. It printed any sort of output that was there, and then it looped, meaning it went back to the top, and now we're reading again. So read, eval, print, loop, REPL, you've probably heard this term before. That's what's going on here. The terminal will basically sit there. Bash, I'm going to try to be consistent with this terminology, but I do kind of conflate terminal and shell a lot. You'll see a lot of people do that. Bash, in this case, is waiting for my input. Bash is reading right now, and it is doing nothing else. It's waiting for me to say whatever I want. And then when I hit enter, it evaluates what I said. It looks at what I gave it. It says, oh, you gave me the echo command. Echo is a command that's on my system, and it will print whatever I give echo to the screen. That's what happens there. Super duper simple. Now, there are some other commands, and you've probably seen some of these. Let's get started by talking about where we are on the system. And what I mean by that is bash doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's always in a directory, or put differently, it's always in a folder. Now, this is very confusing if you've only used graphical user interfaces before and you're not comfortable with the shell. So I'm going to pop open one to show you what I mean. So here I have Finder on my Mac. I popped it open. Let's make sure this is completely visible. Cool. So I have Finder on my Mac. If you were on Windows, you would have like Windows Explorer. If you were on Linux, you would have all sorts of other programs to show you basically what's going on in your system. But here we go. This is my File Explorer. I can see I'm in my home directory and I have all of these folders here. So here's the thing. Finder always exists in a folder. It's always inside a folder. Right now it's in this folder here, users Dave, that's my home directory, but it's always in a folder. And why am I stressing this point? Because your terminal is also in a folder, and we can run pwd print working directory to see what that is. Take a look. My terminal is in users Dave. Bash is in users Dave. So is Finder. Isn't that interesting? If we listed the files on our terminal, do you think we'd see what Finder shows us? Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit to kind of... There we go. We don't have to deal with any word wrapping here. Let's go ahead and run ls. Here's the next command we're going to learn. You run this, and this will list all the files that it sees. Look at this. You know something interesting? The files it sees here are the same files we have in Finder here. This is something I wish I had learned. I'm showing you guys something that I wish I had when I was first learning this stuff. To combine these two things together in your head is super valuable. If you already know this stuff and you're like, Dave, this is super obvious. It wasn't obvious to me when I was learning this stuff, so I'm trying to give you what I didn't have. So my terminal exists, my bash process exists in users Dave, and if I ls it, here is all the stuff we see in here, the same stuff we see in Finder. So I'll show you another command. I won't get too crazy with it. I'm just going to show you a quick little command. Let's go ahead and touch a file. I can touch file.txt and watch this. I'm going to create the file. It instantly shows up here. There's no lag time. How cool is that? So you can get a graphical sense of what you're doing. When I ls it again, you can see file.txt is there. That's awesome. It also shows up here. Now we've created that file. Let's go ahead and delete that file. This is a dangerous command. Be very careful with this command because you can delete things. There's no trash. There's no recycle bin. It'll just trash your file. Oh, sorry, I should state that better. It'll delete your file. It'll zap it from existence. So be very careful with this command, okay? rm, remove. Let's rm space file.txt and let's hit enter. Gone. Immediately gone. Just completely zapped from existence. And of course, this works both ways. I could go here, hit new folder and call this, let's call this foo. And I did all that through the graphical user interface. When I go here, I'm going to clear the screen with the clear command. All it does is just clear what was visible there. And I'm going to run ls. And you can see that we now have a foo directory here. Here's the interesting part. We can go into the foo directory in Finder. If I double click it, we're inside the foo folder. There's nothing there. But if we go over to our terminal, we can cd change directory into foo, hit enter, and now if we run pwd, we are inside the same directory. Pause right here. I am going to use the terms directory and folder interchangeably. They are the same thing. I will tell you on a personal note, I associate the word directory more with the terminal, more with the command line interface, and I associate the word folder more with the GUI interface, the graphical user interface, but I will use them interchangeably. So typically if I'm over here, I'll say folder. If I'm over in the terminal, I'll say directory, but they're the same thing. I won't be consistent. I'll mess them up sometimes. Just letting you know that when I say directory and when I say folder, it's the same thing. So now that we're in foo, I can clear the terminal again. I can ls, there is nothing in there. That's awesome. So we could touch new file.txt and look, it shows up immediately there. I'm pointing to my screen like you guys can see it. Yeah, as you can see, it shows up right here. And of course, if we were to delete this, let's say I were to right click or you know what, actually command delete. I'm gonna do it right from my keyboard. Gone. It's gone now. If I ls, nothing's there. So there's no like having to synchronize between the two. They are both in sync because they're both showing you the same underlying data structure. This part's very important. The file system is the file system. Whether I'm looking at it through Finder or I'm looking at it through the terminal, I'm looking at a source of truth, which is the underlying file system. So Finder doesn't need to sync with the terminal or anything like that. No, they're both asking the file system what files are there. So they can both touch the same files. They can both modify the same files. You can get into some weird situations with that. But yeah, so hopefully that kind of demystifies this a little bit.